pretty quick, and I want that meat to brown all the way through so that I don't see any pink, but I definitely don't want it to get dark brown or to get dry or to get tough. So now I have a nice rendering of the beef. Everything is to a nice brown, so I'm just gonna drop this temperature real quick so I can pull it away, and I'm going to simply drain off the grease and the extra fat, so I'm just left with my nice lean beef. This pan comes right back onto the heat a little bit lower now. There we go. And my first step is a little bit of red wine now. And I'm gonna use that red wine to break off any particles, big or small, that are still stuck onto that pan. All right, we got a good, nice deep glazing, got a little bit of a reduction going. So I'm going to add some onions. And I'm gonna allow those onions to sweat until they are translucent, which means I can slightly see through them, and they're aromatic, so I can smell them. This step takes about 2 to 3 minutes to sweat those onions to exactly where I want them. My next step is going to be adding on top of that some diced celery, some diced bell peppers, and some diced red peppers. If you like a little bit of crunch in your sloppy joe, by all means, let this step take only 1 or 2 minutes. If you like everything to be soft and of a similar texture, let it go 5 to 7. And next step will be a touch of tomato paste. I'm going to spread around that tomato paste and let it fry and sear in the pan. That's going to give it that kind of rusty brown color instead of a bright raw red tomato color. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is re-add this now very lean ground beef that has my herbs and my peppers all seared in with it. And in looking at this sauce, what I see is it looks a little bit dry, yeah? And sloppy joes, well, gosh darn it, they're sloppy. So I need some liquids to really loosen this up. We are using a little bit of chicken stock and then some pureed San Marzano tomatoes. That's going to loosen this up perfectly. Last but not least, I do want a bit of sweetness. I'm going to do that with some molasses. This is going to simmer for about 5 to 10 minutes until it starts to pull in together and pull tight, but not be dry. I definitely don't want it to get over dried. And then our next step will be to get this going on a plate. My sloppy joes are going on some little brioche slider buns. To keep that bun nice and soft, I'm spreading it with some creme fraiche. And then a lovely amount of this sloppy concoction, a little bit of microgreens. And we are ready for an outdoor or indoor lovely summer meal. My name's Chef Cicely. Thank you for joining me at the Divine Cafe at the Springs Preserve. I hope to see you here.
Have you ever wondered how archaeologists do their jobs or what local archaeological projects are going on around town? The Southern Nevada Archaeology Speaker Series held at the Nevada State Museum is here to answer your questions. From preserving archaeology through photography to identifying bones, the series celebrates historic preservation in Nevada. Get all the details and find event dates and times at nvculture.org. There's a lot more to discover, so join us next time here at the Springs Preserve, where a microscopic world of wonder, varied volunteers, and our well-fed native critters mingle to bring new life to Las Vegas.
It may be summer, but school is still in session for some UNLV students, but they're not just working on grades. Welcome to the Flood Channel. I'm your host, Beatriz Martinez. Here at UNLV's College of Engineering, we have graduate students working on real-life flood control issues, and what they find might affect how we build projects in the future.
So we're at the UNLV Fluids Lab. We're at the engineering department of UNLV. They have a flume here at the water lab. We've entered into a partnership, a research agreement with UNLV to take a look at how flows when you have a channel and you have a lateral pipe coming into the side of that channel. How does that affect the flow in that channel? And so they're looking at different scenarios with this flume to have water come in the side of the flume as water's flowing through it to see what happens as far as waves and things like that to that flow in the channel as those pipes are coming in from the side. So we use channels all the time in our structures. We always have pipes that come into the side of those channels. And so it's really important for us to know what happens to the flow to the water inside of those channels when that water is coming in from the side. How is that interacting? And so it's important for us to know that because we want to make sure that that stormwater stays in the channel, that it doesn't splash out or create waves that creates problems for us in our flood control system.
Parrish is a UNLV engineering alumnus, and he thought of his alma mater when the district needed to study flow rates.
The flood control district is very much aware of the students' needs, financial needs, as well as their techs to make sure that the incoming flow from the pipes does not interfere with the main flow of the channel. Now, of course, 15 degrees is quite severe because it requires a lot of real estate, and developers don't like that. So the flood control district approached us and asked us if we can study changing the 15-degree angle to 30 degrees, possibly 45 degrees, or even 90 degrees, and see the impact of that to the flow in the main channel.
The study will help the district with its design regulations. It helps the university by providing real-life science problems to solve. But it is also helping one student earn his PhD.
Here we are in the lab where the flume is, and here is where we take the tests. And as you can see, we have the side flow there, the pipe that comes in 90 degrees. And we have some instruments here, like the box that is in here. I use this one to run the flume. If I turn this on, it pumps the water from back there into the flume. And then we have some instruments to measure the flow and the speed of the flow. Like this instrument that we have in here, it shows the velocity and the flow rate of the water flowing in this channel or the flume that we have in here. And the sensor is back there that measures the height, the velocity, and the flow of the water. And also I have a laser meter in here. I use this one to adjust the slope of the flume. Also, I use these keys to increase and decrease the slope in order to get different fruit numbers. So for this experiment, we are using fruit numbers for subcritical flow, critical, and supercritical. All is done by adjusting the flow rate and also the slope of the flume.
All of our engineers are here today, so they get to see what's going on with the physical model as well. So it's a great learning experience for us. It's a great learning experience for them. And at the end of the day, it just really helps us to have a better flood control system through the Las Vegas Valley.
Students were working to test different angles of side streams into the main channel.
The main difference between subcritical and supercritical flow is the velocity. And as the velocity increases, the effect of side flow changes. So we are looking for different fruit numbers and different velocities of the flow and different ratios of the main channel flow in the side flow to see how it impacts how water flows and how it backs up because of the hydraulic jump in the channel. We have just done the 90 degrees so far, and we are planning to decrease the angle, the approach angle of the pipe to 45 and then probably to 30 to see how it impacts how the water flows and how it backs up because of the side flow that comes into the channel.
Well, we have a great partnership with the Flood Control District, and I want to thank Mr. Parrish for his contacts and continued interaction. It's a great benefit to us because it helps our students see the practical nature of what they're trying to do. It gives them opportunities to work on real-world problems while they're studying, and of course provides important funding for them as well. We also believe it's very beneficial for the district. We have some really talented faculty, and having them interact and be part of finding solutions to problems that here in our community is really what we're interested in, and I think it can benefit both parties.
When Dr. K first started at UNLV 30 years ago, the entire College of Engineering had 4 faculty members. Now there are 20 and hundreds of students going through the program each year.
Mr. Parrish used to be my student in the undergraduate courses, and then he got a job at the Flood Control District, and then we lost contact, but 3-4 years ago he contacted me. He says, Dr. K, we'd like to have you do some research for us. And then we got together and we started talking about what kind of research they want. He said, we have several issues that the flood control have, and we think that you can help us. And the reason we can help him is because we have a big flume here that has been there for a while, and we could use that to study the problems that he has identified.
So the College of Engineering has grown rapidly in the last 5 or 6 years. We're up to 2,800 undergraduate students this year. We have a variety of majors. Our graduate programs are growing. Our number of PhD graduates is growing. We're working in every direction. We have great departments, and all are moving up in national rankings, and have great faculty. So things are going really, really well for us, and the future looks really bright.
In the lab, the student is beginning to hypothesize. It's possible that the angle can be increased at higher flow rates. His dissertation won't just be put in the library.
If I see the outcome of my work, my study, goes into real world, for sure, it feels good than something just, which is abstract and is completely mathematical, and just after finishing the dissertation, it goes to the library and no practical output out of that. So this is actually a very good aspect of this project, that after finishing this, I know that the code is going to be changed according to what we have done here, and I will see the actual result in the real world.
We want to provide pragmatic solutions that can be implemented, and I think this project is a good example of where we may be able to help everybody in one set and make sure the community is safe, but make the developers make it a little bit easier and more practical for what they're doing.
Lake Mead is full of life, a seemingly endless aquatic parade, attracting and sustaining busy desert creatures. It's one of the most diverse ecosystems in Nevada, with species found nowhere else on Earth. But every time soap suds run down your driveway, oil drips in the streets, fertilizer washes off your lawn, or random trash gets swept in our storm sewers, their home gets a little uglier. They get a little sicker. If we don't take simple steps to change our ways, soon you'll wonder where all our friends have gone. It's time to clean up our act, Southern Nevada. To get your home or business lake-friendly certified, visit belakefriendly.com. road. Flash flood season is here.
Summer in Las Vegas is famous for its heat, but it's also flash flood season, and it's important to remind everyone about the season's biggest danger. One of the ways we do that is through our advertising campaign. Part of the Regional Flood Control District's mission is to keep people away from floods, and that's done each summer through a combined effort between staff and an advertising consultant. Robertson Partners was selected again to produce this year's campaign.
We kind of came up with an insight many years ago about, the way the government tried to inform and change people's behavior. Found out that people respond negatively when authority tells them how to behave. Like for instance, when you say just say no to smoking, made a lot of kids want to smoke. But the strategy we looked at the principle of social proof, which is a psychological concept which explores human behavior, that people in risky situations look to others and how they behave to determine how to behave themselves. And they're more concerned about being embarrassed by doing the wrong thing than they are about doing the right thing in terms of what some authority wants them to do. We created ad campaigns that showed people who decided to take that risk and drive through water and do the foolish thing. We wanted to hold them up as sort of fools so that other people would say, I don't want to be that guy. And then we went to research and found out we had people who would quote the campaign and said, I didn't want to end up like that person. So strategically what we thought would happen and hoped would happen actually happened and positively changed behavior.
One of the most successful campaigns Robertson created for the district was a series of license plates that made the viewer understand flooding from the view of someone whose vehicle got swept away.
I think what worked about that campaign most, it wasn't the idea it was conveying about, that this is foolish behavior, don't do this. It was the fact that taking something from popular culture, which was this vanity plates, these personalized plates people love to do and express themselves, and putting those on billboards, and then also attaching a contest to it where like people could come up with their own lines. Every time it was the interaction. There was when you saw those billboards, you had to think and decipher a puzzle, and in doing so, you were engaged in a way most ads aren't. Ads are generally passive. You see it, it's an impression or something, but it doesn't require interaction between you. So that's why I think the fact that people had fun with them, boom, was like key to the memory, and yeah, and then they looked forward. I mean, there was a point years into that campaign where the ad agency didn't really write the lines anymore. They were coming out of consumer submissions on the website, hundreds of them. So that was cool.
The district surveys Clark County residents every 2 years to find out what they know about flash flooding and to see if they've been receiving the district's safety message. The current survey influenced how Robertson crafted the current campaign.
So every year the numbers change a little bit, but the Flood Control District, one, has done an amazing job at mitigating flooding through all the detention basins and work they're doing. So that's created a little bit of a problem though. The less floods there are, the less top of mind it is, and you'll start to see positive behaviors lapse, especially amongst new residents and young people who think they're invincible. And we saw that in the last round of research where all the numbers were strong on what to do in a flood incident, but when you got down to like 18 to 20-year-olds, the numbers kind of flipped and you saw they were willing to take a risk, like, I think I can make it, or I'm late for work. They had some excuse, we saw in their quotes, as to why they would go for it. But when you come to an intersection and you've got to make the choice to go through that, you're entering into a competition with water. And the tagline is water always wins. No matter who you are, no matter if you're driving a truck, what you're late for, you're going to get stuck. So we have this campaign where it's like, flash flood 1, running late 0. Again, it incorporates a little bit of humor and that idea of making you look foolish for taking these risks. It's another one, flash floods 1, you only live once 0. Water always wins. We just want to remind kids. We want to do something that's sticky so that if a kid in particular comes up to the intersection, in their brain, before they decide to hit that gas, they go, I'm about to be on a billboard, is a possibility for me if I do this. So that was it, trying to create a wedge between them and that risky decision.
The district tries to get its message to as many Clark County residents as possible. This means using a combination of digital, TV, radio, and billboard messages. It also means reaching out to specific audiences in ethnic or rural newspapers.
We're going to be everywhere. I mean, the media landscape over the last 10 years is fragmented beyond, it's hard to conceive. And there's new channels coming online every day. A lot of it mostly is social and digital. People are spending most of their time on their phone, more so than laptops, desktops, and televisions at home. So we're really going heavy into social media to make sure, especially, we reach that. We're calling them the young invincibles. Like, we put a sort of a layer of hyper-targeting over that age group because they're the ones that we most need to convince not to do this.
Billboards are still some of the most successful ways to reach motorists, and since about half of flash flooding deaths occur to people in vehicles, it's important to target people while they're driving. During actual flood events, electronic billboard messages switch over to immediate warnings. It's another way Robertson Partners keeps the campaign fresh.
We're about 18, 20 people, kind of a boutique agency, creative shop. I think what makes us different is, as an owner, I'm a creative director, and usually it's account guys and strategists who run the companies because the creatives are too unruly. So that means our creative department sort of doesn't have some guy who's telling them, no, don't do good ideas or whatever. So we're a creatively driven shop. We're unique in the market in that we don't focus on hospitality and gaming. Like most of the agencies here are just serving the Las Vegas Strip. We got more into local businesses, community development, real estate, and government work. In addition to flood control, we do some work with RTC and a few other things, because in particular we think the work for the community is something, aside from, we've worked for McDonald's, Capriati's, automotive, Ford Country. I mean, we do almost every category, and it's good to help them succeed and sell product. But when you can actually do something that maybe saves someone's life, that's something that feels a little bit more important, to take on with you at the end of the day. So we really love doing the public service work, and we'll continue to seek to do more.
Flash flooding can happen on any day and in any part of the county. One of the best ways you can stay protected is by purchasing flood insurance for your property. For some people, it costs as little as $1 a day. Flooding is not covered under homeowners or renters insurance policies. Just a few inches of water can cause thousands of dollars in damage. Policies can cover up to $250,000 for single-family homes and an additional $100,000 for belongings. For most residents, policies are an affordable way to protect against Mother Nature. One thing to remember is that the Federal Emergency Management Agency requires a 30-day window before a policy can take effect. This is to prevent someone from purchasing insurance in the days before a hurricane is forecast to hit. In Las Vegas, you should consider flood insurance if you live next to a wash or channel. Other times insurance is a good idea if you live next to a wall to a street that floods, if your property has flooded before, or if you live at the bottom of a cul-de-sac. If you want to buy flood insurance, you can find more information on our website, befloodsafe.com.
We have all seen the devastation that floods can cause to homes and lives in Clark County. Has your neighborhood or home ever been affected by major storms? Federal flood insurance is a smart and cost-effective investment if you think your home is vulnerable. Some easy-to-understand assessments can help determine if you need flood insurance. Call your insurance agent or call 1-888-CALL-FLOOD or visit the Regional Flood Control District's website for guidance. See if flood insurance makes sense for you.
Although my car almost tipped over on its top, it didn't. So you can see I'm floating down in the middle of this weather. I've called 911. They told me to roll down my windows and stay in the car, and hopefully they'll be here soon.
One more way we try to keep you informed is through our annual press conference. This year, we partnered with NDOT to showcase a storm drain project along US 95 in northwest Las Vegas. The district held a press conference in late June to raise awareness of flash flood dangers. Media came to a large shoulder along US 95, where a $20 million flood control project is underway.
We feel the project here along US 95 is a win-win for both drivers and for public safety. It's not only a great roadway project, but it's also a great flood control project. When we work together with NDOT on major projects such as this, we minimize the disturbance to traffic. I know it's inconvenient for the traveling public when a ramp's being closed or a lane is being closed to allow for the construction of these projects, but we feel that the inconvenience to the public is short-term, and at the end of the project they'll be enjoying a great roadway to drive on. It's really got great flood protection. We are updating our public awareness flood advertising campaign this season. Our motto is "Water always wins" this year. That's our phrase this year that we're promoting. We're trying to reach new residents. We're trying to reach younger residents in the Clark County area. The campaign shows the power of water, what it can do to vehicles. It's using actual footage of people that maybe have made a poor decision and driven into an area they shouldn't have driven into, and we're paying the price for that. And unfortunately, we've got quite a bit of video footage that we can choose from. So we're trying to curb that and get people to make good decisions, don't drive into flooded areas.
Media conducted interviews and helped get the district's message to a wider audience.
It's worth noting, as Steve did, that we had 8+ swiftwater rescues last year in the Las Vegas Valley, 3 deaths over the last 2 years. A lot of these deaths are occurring in vulnerable populations, and think tourists, homeless, children, people who often don't get the messaging that we put out there as hard as we try. Our messaging is having an effect, but a lot of times we're not reaching a lot of these vulnerable populations. The homeless population especially is at risk due to the fact that they set up shop sometimes in washes or behind barricades near washes, and then wind up getting washed in. And likewise, I say this every year because it needs to be said. Talk to your children. Tell them to stay out of these washes. They're not an area you need to be playing in.
With flash flood season upon us, it's very important to stay aware of any change in weather. To help you out, you can follow us on Twitter at Regional Flood, or go to our website, regionalflood.org, where you can get information from over 200 rain gauges. Remember, water always wins. Stay safe this summer.
If you're up to your eyeballs in paper, inhibiting your vision and productivity, you may be suffering from shredded head. Clear your desk, clear your head, and clear your clutter. Walk-in shredding is now available. Get organized today with the Opportunity Village Paper Pros, trusted as one of Nevada's largest document destruction companies. Good for your community, good for you. For more information, visit paperproslv.com. That's paperproslv.com.
I helped make this town happen, said Florence Lee Jones Kalin about her 40 years of life and work in Las Vegas. Indeed, as a journalist, a civic leader, and a historian of the region, she left an indelible mark on the city.
After graduating from the University of Missouri School of Journalism, Florence Lee Jones joined her family in Las Vegas in 1933 when the population just topped 5,000. She immediately landed a temporary job as a cub reporter with the Las Vegas Review-Journal, covering the construction of the Hoover Dam, and she gained the distinction of being the city's first professional woman journalist and an Associated Press correspondent. Her first assignment covered a complex and highly sensationalized trial. This involved the 6 companies incorporated, the company that built Hoover Dam and one of its former employees. Her successful coverage of the case proved her a highly capable reporter, garnered her a permanent position with the paper, and quickly initiated her into the local scene. Over the next few years, Florence Lee Jones continued to cover construction of the Hoover Dam, but was increasingly assigned to cover City Hall and the courthouse. She became an astute political reporter, and she attracted the attention of the man who became her mentor and later her husband, Review-Journal editor John Kalin. They married in 1940, and they spent the next 45 years sharing mutual interests in writing, local history, and civic activities. In addition to her work as a journalist, Florence involved herself in the social and civic life of the young city. While she was assigned to cover the newly formed Las Vegas affiliate of the Jaycees, Florence promptly joined and enthusiastically recruited other women. Unaware of the national organization's rule